You know, after so many years as a doctor, I've come to realize something simple, yet deeply profound. Our eyes are not just for seeing. They are mirrors reflecting an entire life. When we're young, we see the world with bright, clear eyes. Every detail, every color stands out. But once we cross into our 50s, many of us begin to notice changes. Driving at night becomes harder. Street lights feel glaring. The words on a page begin to blur. Have you ever felt that way? One of my patients, Martha, 68 years old, once said to me, "Doctor, I'm not afraid of getting older. What I fear is not being able to clearly see the faces of the people I love." Those words touched me deeply, because vision isn't just a biological function. It's tied to our sense of independence, our confidence, our joy in everyday life. Losing vision means losing a piece of freedom, and I believe none of us wants that. I know many people in your age group spend thousands of dollars every year on glasses, eye drops, or supplements. I've seen patients walk out of my office with bags full of medication, eyes filled with both hope and worry. But here's something modern science has shown us, and I want to share it with you honestly today. Sometimes the solution doesn't come in expensive pills. Sometimes it's already in your own kitchen, right there on your dinner table. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But let me explain. Recent studies have shown that certain foods, when eaten in the evening, just before sleep, can actually activate the eye's natural repair mechanisms. Put simply, when you rest, your eyes are given the chance to restore themselves, to fix from the inside. And the nutrients from these foods become the building blocks of that renewal. I want you to picture this. You're asleep, the room is quiet, you're breathing steady, and in that moment, inside your eyes, the cells of your retina are being nourished. Tiny blood vessels are repairing themselves. Tomorrow's light is being prepared so you can wake up and see more clearly. That's not a dream. It's the remarkable truth of the human body. A study at the University of Wisconsin followed hundreds of older adults and found that just one familiar food, sweet potatoes, when eaten the right way before bed, could significantly reduce night blindness and improve night vision. Another study from Australia showed that tiny goji berries, taken in the evening, increased the density of macular pigments, the protective layer at the very center of our vision. These things aren't myths. They're backed by science. I remember one of my patients, James, 72, a retired Navy officer. He used to joke that his eyes had run out of batteries. He was too afraid to drive at night, worried he might cause an accident. I suggested he try changing his diet, not in complicated ways, just by adding certain foods in the evening. 3 months later, he came back smiling. "Doctor, my eyes aren't like they were in my 20s, but I can drive at dusk again. I see the road more clearly and I feel younger." You see, sometimes the miracles lie in the simplest things. The challenge is we often overlook them, or we don't know how to use them correctly. What we eat, when we eat, and how we eat, all of it matters. Eat at the wrong time and the nutrients may be wasted. But eat with awareness, and even something as humble as an organic egg, a piece of salmon, or a handful of pumpkin seeds can become medicine for your eyes. I don't say this to replace modern medicine. I still believe in the value of prescription glasses or surgery when it's necessary. But as a doctor, and as someone who has lived more than 60 years, I've realized that true health care doesn't always come from a hospital. It comes from how we live each day, from the smallest choices we make at the table. So today, I want to invite you on a journey to discover 11 everyday foods, familiar yet powerful, that can help your eyes heal and grow clearer while you sleep. This isn't just a food list, it's an invitation to look again at how you care for yourself. Are you ready to take that step? If you are, let's begin. Carrots, a small but miraculous gift. Do you remember the last time you peeled a carrot? Maybe it was in your family kitchen preparing dinner, or perhaps it was just a few crisp slices tossed into a fresh salad. Yet sometimes, these simple, everyday things carry a power we rarely notice. I once had a patient, a man in his 60s. He told me that when he was young, he never touched vegetables. To him, they were bland and not worth his attention. But as the years caught up with him, His vision grew dim, his steps less steady. That's when he began paying closer attention to what he put into his body. And you know what? Carrots were one of the very first foods he learned to eat again, as if he was making peace with age, making peace with his own eyes. Carrots are rich in beta-carotene, a compound the body transforms into vitamin A. I don't want this to sound like a dry chemistry lecture, so think of it this way. Vitamin A is like a quiet gatekeeper, protecting the windows of your soul from the slow wear and tear of time. Our eyes, over the years, are like window glass. Rain, sun, dust, all leave their marks. Carrots, with their beta-carotene, are like a gentle hand wiping away the fog, helping us see the world with clarity again. Now I want you to picture this. One day, you're sitting on your porch in the late afternoon sun. Beside you is the person who has walked with you through decades of life. And you can still see their face clearly, the lines etched by laughter, the eyes that have met yours 1,000 times. Isn't that feeling priceless? And sometimes, it begins with something as simple as adding a few slices of carrot to your daily meal. One question I often ask my patients is this: do you want your eyes to keep walking with you, bright, clear, and whole, for another 10, 20 years? If your answer is yes, then carrots are one of those loyal little friends, always by your side, helping you make that possible. Spinach, the green power from nature. It's funny how many people only think of spinach in the cartoon Popeye, eat it and suddenly grow bulging muscles. But to me, that image holds a deeper truth. This leafy green is truly a source of strength, not just for muscles, but for our eyes and the graceful journey of aging. I remember a female patient, around 58, who often complained that her eyes felt tired, blurring after just a few lines of reading. I suggested she add spinach into her daily meals, whether in soups, salads, or simply stir-fried with garlic. After a few months, she returned with a gentle smile. "Doctor, I can now read bedtime stories to my grandchild without stopping from eye strain." At that moment, I knew spinach had done its work. Spinach is rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, two nutrients scientifically proven to protect the retina and slow down eye aging. If you imagine your eyes as an old film reel where light records memories, then lutein and zeaxanthin are like a protective layer, preventing that film from fading or burning out under the sun. But I don't want you to think of it as just antioxidants in dry, clinical terms. Picture this. One morning you walk into your garden, gazing at tiny flowers, seeing each delicate petal trembling in the breeze. In that moment, your eyes are savoring life's purest gift. And spinach, with its deep, vibrant green, is what helps preserve that simple yet priceless joy. I often ask older patients, if just one extra dish at your table could prolong the life of your eyes, would you do it? Most laugh and say, of course, as long as it's easy to cook. Then I remind them, spinach is exactly that, simple, affordable, but steadfast, like a lifelong friend. Salmon, a flow of nourishment for eyes and heart. Once, I sat with a 65-year-old gentleman at my clinic. He told me that since retiring, what he looked forward to most was weekend family meals. He often bought salmon to grill, tender and fragrant, enjoyed with his whole family. Smiling, he said, "I don't eat fish to live longer, but to enjoy longer these moments, seeing my children's faces clearly, hearing laughter around the table." That sentence stayed with me, reminding me that food nourishes not only the body, but also love and connection. Salmon is one of the ocean's greatest gifts. In each pink, tender slice lies omega-3, a nutrient supported by hundreds of studies as vital for protecting the retina, preserving clear vision, and reducing the risk of macular degeneration. But omega-3 doesn't stop there. It also nurtures the heart, calms inflammation, and flows like cool, fresh water through blood vessels weary from years of life. I want you to picture this. Our eyes are like a clear lake. Over time, the dust and winds of life make its surface murky. Omega-3 in salmon is like a fresh stream flowing in, cleansing and restoring that clarity. Thanks to it, we can continue to witness the world vividly, from the first light of dawn to the sparkling eyes of a child. What makes me value salmon isn't only its nutrition, but the choice it represents. We can choose fast, convenient foods, letting our bodies bear the burden later. Or we can choose a simple grilled salmon meal, not only for today's health, but as a promise to ourselves. I want these eyes to see the joy of family for many more years. So let me ask you, when was the last time you enjoyed a meal of salmon? And if it's been far too long, perhaps today is the day to begin again. A small but meaningful step toward brighter eyes and a stronger heart. Walnuts, small shape, great wisdom. Have you ever held a walnut in your hand? It's fascinating how its shape resembles the human brain, with grooves winding like the folds of memory. Some say this is no coincidence, because walnuts truly are a gift for both our brain and our eyes. I once met a patient, a grandmother in her 70s, who loved reading, but she often worried that her memory wasn't as sharp as before, and her eyesight was gradually fading. I advised her to snack on a few walnuts each day instead of sugary treats. Months later, she returned with a smile. I wouldn't dare say I've grown younger, but I feel more alert. My eyes are less dry. Most importantly, I can still read stories to my granddaughter. Hearing that, I knew these tiny walnuts had worked their quiet magic. Modern science has confirmed what ancient wisdom already sensed. Walnuts are rich in omega-3s, vitamin E, and antioxidants. These nutrients act like silent workers, nourishing nerve cells while protecting the retina from aging. Simply put, they help keep the lamp of the mind burning steadily, shining longer. Imagine this. On a peaceful evening, you sit on the porch, eyes still bright enough to gaze at the starry sky, mind still clear enough to recall the names of constellations you once taught your children. That feeling can, in fact, be nurtured by the simplest of choices, like the habit of eating a few walnuts each day. I often ask my patients, do you want to live long or live clear-minded? Most reply, both. And I smile, reminding them that sometimes the answer begins with the simplest of things, like the shape of a walnut, small yet carrying great wisdom within. Eggs, simple nourishment for bright eyes. In every family kitchen, perhaps no food is as familiar and simple as the egg. Open the fridge and you'll almost always find a few eggs resting quietly in their tray, waiting to be boiled, fried, or simmered for a meal. And yet, few realize that within such simplicity lies a precious source of nourishment, for the eyes, for memory, and for the peace of aging gracefully. I recall a male patient, around 62, who lived alone after his wife passed away. He often told me, "Doctor, I'm not good at cooking, but at least I can boil an egg for breakfast." Then he added with a gentle smile, "That's enough for me to feel like I'm taking care of myself." To him, an egg wasn't just food, but a symbol of independence, of living neatly and fully, one day at a time. Scientifically speaking, eggs contain lutein and zeaxanthin, two nutrients proven to reduce the risk of cataracts and macular degeneration. The yolk also holds vitamin D and choline, which support memory and nourish the nervous system. In simple terms, that little egg is like a natural supplement gifted by nature, helping our eyes stay clear for many more years. Picture this. One morning, you boil an egg, brew a cup of tea, then sit on the porch watching the sunrise. Gentle, warm light streams into your eyes. If your eyes are still strong enough to take in that moment, then you'll see that an egg nourishes not only the body, but also life's precious little experiences. I often remind patients, health doesn't always come from luxury. Sometimes it comes from small, simple habits, carried out with consistency. And eggs are living proof of that, humble and modest, yet quietly nurturing both our eyes and our soul. Oranges, sunshine wrapped in every slice. Perhaps no fruit brings to mind freshness quite like the orange. The moment you peel one, its gentle fragrance fills the kitchen, as if sunlight itself had entered the room. And when you bite into a juicy slice, the sweet flavor mingled with a hint of tartness spreads across your tongue. That is the very taste of life, of health, of a new day filled with hope. I remember a patient, a woman in her 70s, who always carried a few oranges in her bag whenever she came for a checkup. She told me, "Doctor, I don't take many supplements, but I eat an orange every day. It makes me feel fresh, as if I were still young. Seeing the sparkle in her eyes as she said that, I knew oranges had become her companion, not only for her health but also for her spirit. Scientifically, oranges are rich in vitamin C, a powerful antioxidant that protects the tiny blood vessels in the eyes and lowers the risk of cataracts. You might imagine your eyes as a green garden, with vitamin C like the morning sunlight that nourishes each leaf, keeping the garden from withering. It cannot stop aging, but it slows the process, making it gentler, kinder. Picture this. On a bright morning, you peel an orange and share a slice with your grandchild or your life partner, enjoying together its refreshing sweetness. Because your eyes have been well nourished, they are still clear enough to see the radiant smile on your loved one's face. Isn't that small moment exactly what we wish to preserve for as long as possible? I often ask, if there were a simple way to add more light to your eyes, would you take it? Most people nod, and I smile, because sometimes the answer lies within something as small as a slice of orange, juicy, sweet, carrying within it the essence of the sun. Sweet potatoes, humble sweetness, quiet strength. For many, sweet potatoes are not a luxurious food, but a memory of countryside markets, of wood-fired stoves glowing red, of hungry afternoons after school, holding a steaming, roasted sweet potato that warmed both hands and heart. Yet sometimes, it is the simplest things that nourish us in the most enduring way. I recall an elderly man who once came to my clinic. He lived alone, his back bent, his eyesight fading at dusk. But he told me, "I eat sweet potatoes every day. They're cheap, tasty, and easy to digest. And doctor, you know what? Since eating them regularly, I don't get eye strain as much when I read the newspaper." I smiled because he didn't realize that within that humble root was a powerful nutrient, beta-carotene, a precursor of vitamin A, which our eyes rely on to maintain vision. Science has shown that vitamin A from sweet potatoes helps regenerate rhodopsin, a protein in the eyes that allows us to see in low light. Simply put, it's like replacing the dim bulbs in our eyes so they can shine brighter at night. Thanks to that, sweet potatoes not only help you see more clearly in the dark, but also slow down the aging of your eyes. Imagine this. On an autumn evening, you boil a sweet potato, split it open, steam rising in the air. You eat slowly, savoring the gentle sweetness, feeling peace settle into your heart. Your eyes, nourished by such humble meals, remain bright enough to read a few more pages of your book or gaze at the familiar face of the one sitting beside you. Someone once asked me, "Doctor, how can I care for my eyes without relying too much on medicine?" I often reply, start with the simplest things. A sweet potato at dinner. A small habit, but one that may be a great gift for the light in your eyes. Tomatoes, the little red shield for your eyes. In both American and Vietnamese kitchens, tomatoes always seem to have a place. A halved tomato on a salad plate, a few bright slices tucked into a sandwich, or a simmering pot of soup glowing with their warm red color. They are humble, unassuming, yet within them lies a strength many overlook, a quiet power to protect our eyes. I had a patient, Mrs. Helen, in her mid-60s, living in Texas. She often told me, "Doctor, my eyes blur when I drive at night. I'm afraid of going too far." When I asked about her diet, she said, "I eat tomatoes every day. I grow them in my backyard. They're so sweet." Over time, I noticed her vision remained more stable compared to other patients her age. It wasn't a miracle. It was lycopene, the red pigment in tomatoes, acting like an invisible shield, protecting her eyes from the damage of blue light and harmful free radicals. Research has shown that lycopene slows the progression of cataracts and macular degeneration, two silent thieves that gradually steal away vision in old age. Think of it this way. Each time you eat a tomato, you're adding another layer of protection to your lens, like wiping clean a window pane so the light can shine through more clearly. I want you to imagine, a summer afternoon, you pluck a ripe tomato from the vine, bite into it, and the mix of tart and sweet floods your mouth. In that moment, you're not just savoring flavor, you're also sending a quiet message of care to your eyes. I often tell my patients, health doesn't always come in a pill. Sometimes it's right there on your salad plate, in the simple red of a tomato. And when you realize that, you begin to see each daily meal as a choice for the future of your eyesight. Almonds, small seeds, lasting strength. Isn't it interesting that some of the smallest things carry the most enduring energy? Almonds are a perfect example. Just a handful of these little nuts are like nature's jewels, packed with enough nutrition to keep both your body and your eyes thriving. One of my patients, Mr. Richard, 68, was always wary of eye supplements. He would joke with me, "Doctor, I don't want my medicine cabinet turning into a pharmacy." Yet every time he came for a checkup, he carried a small bag of almonds. He told me, "At night, instead of eating sweets or snacks, I nibble on a few roasted almonds." Over the years, that small habit kept his eyes from drying out and helped his night vision remain steadier than many of his peers. Scientifically, almonds are rich in vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant proven to slow down macular degeneration and reduce the risk of cataracts. If you think of your eyes as a strip of film, vitamin E acts like a protective layer, keeping the film from overexposing with time. It preserves the clarity of your vision so you can continue to see life in its true colors. Picture this: an evening at home, you brew a warm cup of tea, place a few almonds in your hand, and chew them slowly. Their mild sweetness and gentle aroma bring you peace. That moment isn't just relaxation. It's also a quiet way of feeding your eyes, ensuring that tomorrow morning you can read the newspaper with clearer vision, the words no longer blurred. I often ask, do you believe that just a few almonds each day could make a difference for your eyes 10 years from now? Many are surprised, then smile when they give it a try, because sometimes change begins with something small, patient, and consistent, just like the almond itself. Pumpkin seeds, tiny grains, big promise for the eyes. I've always believed that the smallest things often carry the greatest power. Pumpkin seeds, the little kernels we usually discard when cooking soup or baking, are actually one of nature's wonderful gifts for our eyes. I remember a farmer from the Mekong Delta who once brought me a bag of dried pumpkin seeds during a routine eye checkup. With a gentle smile, he said, "I snack on these every day, tasty and filling." I never thought the doctor would say they're good for my eyes too. In truth, he had unknowingly been nourishing his vision in just the right way for many years. Pumpkin seeds are rich in zinc, a mineral essential for the retina. Zinc acts like a quiet messenger, carrying vitamin A from the liver to the eyes, helping the retina produce pigments that protect night vision. Without zinc, the eyes tire easily, vision blurs in the dark, and over time the risk of macular degeneration increases. Beyond zinc, pumpkin seeds are loaded with omega-3s and antioxidants. Together, they form a shield that protects the eyes from free radicals, the enemies that weaken retinal cells. Imagine each tiny pumpkin seed as a little warrior, guarding the night within your eyes so you can still see the streetlights clearly or read under the warm glow of a dim lamp. Try a simple habit. Instead of greasy snacks, keep a jar of roasted pumpkin seeds in your kitchen. Each evening, take a small handful, crunch on their nutty crispness, and at the same time, feed your eyes with nutrients. Gradually, you'll notice the difference: less dryness, less strain from computer screens, and sharper night vision. I often ask my patients, do you believe a handful of pumpkin seeds today could be a gift for your eyes 10 years from now? Most pause quietly, then nod, because sometimes true strength doesn't lie in grand gestures, but in small habits, patiently repeated each day. Purple grapes, the wine of youth for the eyes. When I was a child, my grandfather loved eating purple grapes. He used to say, "These grapes taste like heaven's wine, sweet, fragrant, and calming to the soul." Back then, I thought he simply enjoyed the flavor. But as I studied medicine, I realized that each tiny grape truly holds a drop of precious wine for health, especially for the eyes. Purple grapes contain a famous compound called resveratrol. Think of it as a suit of armor against aging. In the retina, resveratrol helps eye cells fight oxidative stress, the main culprit behind age-related vision loss. It has also been shown to slow the progression of macular degeneration and cataracts, two thieves of sight, feared by the elderly. One of my patients, a woman in her 60s, told me she ate a few purple grapes every morning while walking in her garden. "I don't know if they're good for me, but I just feel refreshed and lighthearted," she said. When I examined her, I found her eyesight to be much more stable than others her age. Perhaps it wasn't only the grapes, but surely that small habit infused extra vitality into her eyes. Purple grapes are also rich in flavonoids and vitamin C, which improve blood circulation to the eyes, nourishing even the tiniest capillaries in the retina. Imagine each grape as a drop of water irrigating the field of your vision, keeping your sight bright and vibrant. The beauty of grapes is their versatility. You can enjoy them fresh, as juice, or simply chilled as a nighttime snack. Don't think it takes a big lifestyle change. Sometimes, preserving your eyesight begins with a handful of grapes and a daily routine. I want you to picture this. 10 years from now, you can still clearly see your grandchild's eyes, still read the morning paper without glasses, still notice the purple hues of the sunset. All of that may begin with a bunch of grapes today. And so, from carrots and kale to purple grapes, nature has quietly left us 11 precious gifts. The real question is, do we have enough patience and enough self-love to accept and nurture them every single day? You see, our eyes don't grow old in a single day. They age little by little, through meals, through daily habits we often overlook. Yet from those very small choices, we can give our eyes the chance to stay clearer, healthier, and to embrace life fully in our later years. I often tell my patients, every time you choose a carrot instead of a bag of chips, every time you add a few leaves of kale, a handful of pumpkin seeds, or a bunch of grapes to your basket, you're not just buying food, you're buying more years of seeing the world clearly. Have you ever thought about 10 or 20 years from now, when you can still read a handwritten letter from an old friend, when you can still drive back home to visit family, or simply sit and watch your grandchildren play, without needing someone else to describe it for you? That is the true value of loving your eyes today. So, I want to invite you to begin with your very next meal. Try choosing at least one of the 11 foods we just talked about, and make it part of your diet. You don't need a drastic change. Just one small choice, repeated over time, can become the greatest gift you give yourself. And if you found these insights helpful, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button so we can continue this journey together, nurturing health, protecting vision, and enjoying a peaceful, fulfilling old age. Leave me a comment below and tell me, which food will you start with first? I truly want to hear your story. Remember, caring for your eyes is not a sprint. It's a lifelong journey, and each of us can begin today.